What's going on, everybody? Blade 55555 here, and today we are going to be going over some quality of life changes and other changes to the expansion that isn't related to the new civs and just kind of general gameplay that you're going to notice in the expansion. There's actually some big ones, and we're going to go over the very basic one that takes 2 seconds to go over. The first one is the town center now has a bell. If you've played any previous Age of Empires game, when you click the bell, nearby villagers will run to the closest building with an available garrison space. Just to showcase this in action, you do the bell, there we go. Villagers go inside, and then you can use C. The default key is C, and what it does is this will bring them back to their current, what they were doing before. Obviously, these villagers weren't doing anything before, but just to kind of demonstrate it again, I'll even put some villagers on wood. We'll call the bell. We'll press C, and you'll notice the villagers go back to work. And that is pretty much the first new change that we've seen back in Age of Empires 4 since, the other Age of Empires games. But there is more, and this is going to take a little bit longer of a section. Walls. Yes, there has been a lot of wall improvements to the game. For starters, just to showcase this, you no longer have to cancel or even worry about the endpoints of these palisade walls. If you watch pro level footage, you'll see players like me go this and delete the end of the walls. Now there's no reason to do so. As you're going to see, they actually get completed with this wall, and deleting it doesn't provide any benefit whatsoever. It doesn't save you that 7 wood anymore. It doesn't make the walls build any faster. In fact, they're instant as it is. And so we're going to kind of I'm going to showcase this villager wall all the way over here to the end so you can officially see that this is just going to build by itself. Actually, I think we can just do this and skip that portion. So as you're going to see here in just a second, this should finish. There we go. So that is a quality of life change. That has been a very common request. But wait, there's more. There's a lot more, actually. For starters, you can now wall through resources. And by the way, this actually does provide like a wall value. So like, for example, if you wall right here, we'll just send a villager here. Units will no longer be able to go this way to to like attack your villagers or anything. Like, let's say a knight's coming in. A knight can actually not go this way and has to go all the way around. This goes into berries as well. So you can wall off berries. As you can see, you can wall off berries now. And that's a pretty big thing. You can do it for sacred sites. Now, sacred sites you can still go around, obviously. But now to show you another quality of life change when it comes to walls. You can now wall like this. So currently in the game, before this patch, you had to do this and do this to wall, right? No longer do you have to do that. You can actually just do this, keep dragging, and the wall will keep going over objects, doesn't matter what it is, until you get to the end. So right here, bam, cross the stone, cross the sacred site. Now, of course, units could get past this. Across trees, so on and so forth. So, some very nice changes there. I'm pretty sure a lot of the community is going to be very happy about that because, again, these are kind of changes that I've seen on Reddit and all that for a very, very long time. And so great changes. But wait, there is actually one more thing when it comes to walls. You can now, I guess technically 2 things if you want to go for that. So I'm going to showcase this. We're going to build a palisade wall here. And you can attach a stone wall now to your wooden walls. And yes, units cannot go past. These are now fully connected. So I cannot run past except for through the opening. There's no way forward. This area is now blocked off. And this works for teams as well. So if you play team games and you're annoyed when your teammate builds a wall here and doesn't finish it, well, you can now attach your own wall to their wall and continue with your own villagers. I might actually try to edit a piece of that into this later in this video, but as of right now, just in case I don't, I want you to know that you can do that with team walls now with palisade walls, stone walls. The one difference is with the stone walls is you can't walk on top from your own stone wall to your ally stone wall with the same segment. At least that's what I've been told. I haven't tested it. Maybe I'll try testing it and editing it in this video if it does end up working, but I've been told it does not work. So yeah, those are the big changes when it comes to the walls. So hopefully you guys are all happy about that. I know I actually am, believe it or not, as someone who's not the biggest fan of walls in general, I am a fan of these changes. It makes it easier to wall, it makes it easier for players to wall, and also it's nice if you play team games, you can just, easily add on your wall if you need to. Um, and now for kind of another change that we're going to talk about is there's no longer the ability to chop through trees. Best way for me to showcase this is actually to create a wall. So for those of you who have watched a tournament, you'll notice that sometimes you'll see a villager come by and they'll chop down this tree right here, and then all their units can go by. That is no longer possible because of one reason. You can no longer go by trees until you've completely gathered the whole resource. So you can chop it down, but you have to gather the full 150 wood before you can build anything on it or get past it. So I'm just going to demonstrate this again. And as you can see, can't go past no matter how hard we try. In the current version or the old version, you would be able to. Now this also goes with you can't build over them either. So when you chop down enough trees, let's say you want to redo your lumber camp. We're going to do this because this will make it go a little bit faster. So I'm just going to demonstrate this. Like right now, usually you could try to put another lumber camp in here once it gets a little further in. That's no longer the case because you have to wait until you get a little bit deeper because you cannot cancel already cut trees. You have to gather the whole resource, and yeah, so it's a really nice quality of life change as well. I mean, I view this as a quality of life change for one reason, and that's the fact that currently in the game, or at least the current version before the expansion releases, you would not be able to you'd be able to chop through. So now you no longer have to worry about that. You can wall to a tree line and not worry about chopping through. It also helps you in general because, right, how often have you been going on a wood line and your villagers do one little chop, they chop this tree down, and then cavalry comes into your wood line and starts killing your villagers? That is no longer the case. If you were to notice this, you would just move around and make sure you don't chop this tree anymore. And so that's a great quality of life change that I think everyone should be very happy seeing into the game. One thing I did also want to add into the walls as I think about it is you can wall through buildings as you can see here, but you actually can't wall, like it doesn't actually provide a blocker. So to give you an example, in Age of Empires 2, you can wall building to building, and then you have to destroy a wall or the building to get by. That is not the case in here. You're going to notice that we walled as close as we could to this, and we could go through no problem. There's no kind of new walling in that regard. Just the resources is the new one, again, that you can wall, and then they can't go through till that resource is gathered. Just wanted to edit this in here before, because I kind of forgot to add it in the beginning portion of this. Another quality of life change that was made into the game was being able to build a building like a mill and shift click to another resource, and the villager will now drop off the resources and then move to the next target. Currently, if you were to have this villager with 5 wood, if you were to do this, make a mill and shift click to stone, he would not drop off that 5 wood and would instead go straight to stone, and you would lose this 5 wood. But now you're going to see that despite the shift click, you're going to see 5 wood dropped off here. Boom, there you go. It's a small thing, but for players like me, it's something I had to consciously think about a lot of the time. Like if I grabbed a bunch of villagers from wood to build, like, I don't know, if I wanted to switch them to food, I had to make sure to right click the lumberjack first or the town center next to it and then make the mill and that. Or I could obviously I would do this too sometimes, where I would just grab the mill, do this, and then right click here. But then I couldn't shift click them to anything else. Again, it's just a very specific example, vague example, but now I no longer have to think about that kind of stuff, and neither do you if you were one of those players. And so now you get to enjoy the fruits of, again, that quality of life change. And we have another change for walls that I thought I would bring up as well, is gates are no longer directional. Now, what does that mean? To better explain that, before, you'll notice there's no more arrows on the gates. Before, you had to point the arrow, like, so it would be like to face towards the enemy for the gate or face towards you. That is no longer the case. It automatically does it, and enemy units can no longer use the gate to get on top of the wall. So I would say this is a quality of life feature as well, because it's something you sometimes had to think about, or not that I ever thought about it, to be honest. If I ever built a stone wall, I just kind of did it and put the gate wherever. But it does actually matter, because before, if you had it facing the wrong direction, your opponent could just grab his units and run up the wall. Now you no longer have to worry about it, and the enemy cannot use your own gate to go on top of a wall from now on. As of the making of this video, these were the quality of life changes I discovered and thought were good enough to be put into a video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.